Hello, hello. Welcome to Russell Cooks. Thanks for joining me. It's nice to be here. Hope everyone's having a great, fantastic week. It's been pretty cold here, kind of misty, what I like to think of as English weather. And for whatever reason, today is absolutely beautiful, but I decided to do my Moroccan or North African braised white beans with lamb. Now, I love this dish. It's full of flavor, it's unexpected, and it's not as meaty as you might think. So a lot of the times in the Mediterranean, people will use beef, meat, and whatnot as a seasoning. So it'll add flavor and a lot of good savory depth, but it's not the main component. So the main component here is going to be the beans. So it's a little bit healthier in that regard. And it's always nice if you're trying to cut back on the amount of meat you eat. All right. First things first, we have to gather our ingredients. Over here, I got Great Northern beans. Now, I got a pound of those, and I soaked them overnight. So you want to do a couple quarts of water, a couple tablespoons of salt. Soak them overnight. If you forget the salt, don't worry about it. Happens to me. You can season as you go. I don't have any white wine, and I kind of get annoyed when a recipe calls for like half a cup of white wine. Like, yeah, you can open the bottle and drink the rest of it, but if no one else is drinking or you're trying to watch what you're drinking, that wine might go to waste. Definitely can substitute some dry sherry. I'm actually going to be using some dry vermouth as a little bit of an experiment here, just to check it out, because I always have dry vermouth on hand. It doesn't ever really go bad, and it's just a lot easier. I guess you could do boxed wine. I also got 4 cups chicken broth, chicken stock, plus one more, so it's actually 5. If you don't want to open more than one container, I already had one open. If you don't want to open more than one, just do a cup of water. That's fine. Bell pepper, onion. You're gonna need olive oil. You're gonna need 3 garlic cloves. This onion's too big, but it's partly moldy, so I'm only gonna use half. Some tomato paste, ground ginger, ground cumin, and some paprika. If you want to spice it up, you absolutely can add some cayenne. Just put a little bit in while you're doing this, or any other chilies. Aleppo. Ooh, if you got Aleppo pepper, that's right. Now this stuff is extremely difficult to get across. It's Aleppo pepper. If you get your hands on it, it's extremely flavorful. It's got a lot of depth to it. It's got a little bit of heat. It's just nice. Overall, it's not overpowering. It's not a spice that you go, ugh, why did I eat that? And then you can't taste anything else. I find cayenne can be that way, especially if you add too much. It just makes everything just hot, spicy, and you lose some of the delicate flavors in the mix. This has delicate flavors of its own. Can I just use canned? No, you can't use canned here because it's long cook time. You don't want mushy beans. You want beans that hold together. Soak the beans overnight. It's literally the easiest thing you can do. All right. First things first, we are going to sear up the lamb. So I got my lamb right here. This is a lamb shank. 12-ounce piece of lamb shank is fine. If it ends up being a pound, great. I wouldn't really go more than that. This is not like that. This is beans and this brothy, saucy goodness with some deep bland flavor. It's going to be fantastic. Before I forget, turn your oven on. 350, lower mid rack. Lower mid. Not lower, not mid. Lower mid. Done. All right. Go team. You want to heat a couple tablespoons of oil. Medium high heat, depending on your burner. You're going to sear it all around, get some flavorful browning. We're going to pull it out, set it on a plate, build our sauce, add our aromatics, and get going. So that would be the first thing I do, but I got to finish prepping my ingredients. So I got my trusty Gugnia here. That's the name of my knife. If you haven't named your knife, then maybe you should. Again, this is a massive onion, so I'm only going to use half. When recipes call for about 1 onion, we're talking about a cup chopped. Again, long cook time here, so don't worry about chopping fine. Somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. I'm going to need a sharpened Gugnia here. Alright, there's my 1 onion. Now I'm going to mince up my 3 garlic cloves. You can use a garlic mincer. Why not? I get mine already peeled. I go through a lot of it, so it's fine. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do 5 garlic cloves. Alright, got my garlic. Don't mince your garlic too far ahead. Mince it pretty close to when you're going to use it. As it sits, it'll just become more and more and more and more potent. Don't mince it ahead of time. Found it. It's in the drawer I normally keep it in. I also need to do the red bell pepper here. I'm going to chop the pepper about the same size as the onion. When I was in the restaurant, we had to peel away this little bit of pith. I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's worth it, especially for something you're baking. Typically, you also want to cut it through this side rather than the skin side. Skin side tends to be a little harder to cut through. If you don't have a sharp knife, you're going to crush the pepper. None of that. I have a sharp knife. All right, I'm going to get this oil over medium-high heat. 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil is fine. We're going to sear up the meat. I got the meat right here. This is a lamb shank. This is 12 ounces. All right. Lamb shank, look at that. Beautiful. Bone in. This is nicely clean. I think I got this at Whole Foods. This is a nice thing. Just going to salt it. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Get my pit paws. Let's go. Nice sizzle. All right, now while that's going, I'm gonna measure out my spices. All right, paprika. This one you're gonna want a couple teaspoons. This is annoying. If you're at home and you design teaspoons and tablespoons, fix this. Thank you. 2, these are half teaspoons. 3, 4. All right, also gonna use cumin. Now, the thing about cumin is you can go a little overboard with it. And if you do, it goes from nice tasting little BOE. So I'm gonna do maybe a scant 2 teaspoons, maybe 1.5 teaspoons. Now I also have some ground ginger. I'm gonna do about 1.5 teaspoons of this. Pretty potent stuff. And we're done. We're good. I got a big pot. It's gonna be smoking. You turn the heat down if you have a big wide bottom pot like I do. You don't want to really burn the oil. Just want some good flavorful browning, and that's going to take a few minutes. That's going to take about 6 minutes. All right, I'll measure up my tomato paste as well. Let's do 2 tablespoons of this. I'm going to add a little bit more oil. If you grease up the spoon a little bit, it'll come right out. Well, that's about 2 tablespoons. Don't take this into the bathroom for whatever reason. Then in the morning before your coffee when you're reaching for your toothpaste. Terrible, terrible. All right, got my spice mixture. Got everything meased out. All right, a couple more minutes. Got good browning on it. Take it out, transfer it to the plate. Not the best, but we got some browning. Now I reduced heat to medium low. I'm gonna get my onions and red bell pepper in there. Ooh, yow. I'm just gonna saute it up until they start to brown. Now you might need to adjust the heat as needed to make sure that they brown. You wanna cook them in about 5 to 7 minutes. Next up, I like to keep all my little order of operations here. Next up, spice mixture, tomato paste, garlic. I'm gonna season these with 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt, depending on your type of salt. Kosher, go for 1/2. Table, go for 1/4. Again, these will go for 5 to 7 minutes. Alexa, set a 5-minute timer, please. We're getting good browning on here. A couple more minutes. Actually, we're about there. It could go for about 30 more seconds. Garlic, I like a hefty amount. I use 5 cloves of garlic. 2 tablespoons. Look at that. Grease it up, comes right out. And now my big old spice mixture. What do we got? Anyone remember? It's ground ginger, paprika, cumin. You can add cayenne if you want it spicy. I don't want it spicy. Switching to my rubber spatula because I have an easier time of smacking the tomato paste around, spreading it out. Oh man, this smells so good. You get the cumin coming through and that ground ginger. Oh, really, really pungent. Garlic and onions. Yes, please. I'm gonna put a little bit more fat in here. Those dry spices really eat it up. I'm I'm gonna get more from the lamb, but I want to make sure that all the spices here are bloomed, especially the garlic. All right, so this should go for about a minute total. Really want to make sure you cook that tomato paste. All right, now we're gonna deglaze. I'm using vermouth. Use white wine if you want, or a little dry sherry. Cooking wine is fine. Although, don't ever cook with something you won't drink. About a half cup. All right, here's, if you don't want to open up another container, do a cup of water, but I already had one that was open. 1 pound of soaked beans, drained of course. We're gonna bring this up to a simmer, and then we're gonna add the lamb. Don't forget to clean as you go. All right, I'm gonna nestle this guy in, or girl, to the beans. If you have any accumulated juices, don't forget to add those. All right, here we go. We got a boil. Cover, oven, hour and a quarter, hour and a half, roughly. Check it at about an hour and a quarter, but it could take up to almost 2 hours. Lower mid rack, 350. So it's been about an hour and a half. We're gonna check on the lamb. You got yourself a stew, my friend. All right. Oh, my trusty heavy Le Creuset. This is gonna be ripping hot, so make sure you use. Woo-wee, look at all that. Look at that. That's nice flavor fond. Can't really get it off the lid, but you see how it's around the edge? You can still get it there. Remember, this whole thing is hot. Ooh-wee, look how it pulled away from the bone. Extremely tender. Try and get some of it down in the bean. I don't want to break these beans up, but you see how the majority of them kind of held their shape? That's why you use fresh beans. This would just be a big pile of mush. Look at this saucy, delicious goodness. Mmm. Ah, it just smells so good. And this is so hearty. All right. I'm gonna spoon here. I'm just gonna taste. I'm gonna taste it for salt. This, I've already cooked it quite a lot. All right. I'm gonna put a hefty amount here of salt in here. Stir it around. Garnish with some Aleppo. Gonna garnish with a little bit of olive oil. And like I said, if you have crusty bread, this is the meal for it. Ooh, look at this. I'll move it here. I'll try and shred over this. Oh my God, it's just so tender. It's just so tender. Oh, this is so good. I'm gonna get a little bite here. Mmm. Oh, so savory. Big lamb flavor. It's the lamb shank. Oh, I need to do this more often. So easy, right? Didn't take me long at all. So you see I got my pile of meat right here. Just gonna put it in, stir it in. Get ourselves a nice heaping bowl. Let me taste it and make sure it's seasoned. I'm actually gonna put a teeny bit more salt in there. And look at the consistency too. It's not super soupy. It's like saucy. It's like clingy. That's what you want. That's what those beans give you. All right. And you get a nice heaping bowl full. You can serve this over rice. I prefer crusty bread. There you go. You get a drizzle of olive oil here. A sprinkle of Aleppo. All right, here we go. It's just so warming and comforting. It has this deeply rich flavor. It's coming from the lamb. It's savory. It's not spicy. The Aleppo gives it almost a depth, of raisiny depth, if you will. And then you got a little bit of the cumin, paprika, that ground ginger. They're all working in harmony. Oh my goodness. And then that's just really good. On a cold spring day or a cold fall day, this is perfect. You get some crusty bread, serve it with rice, a little couscous. whatever you want. It's warming from the inside out. This is fantastic. Highly recommend this. You know, a lot of hands-off time. It's really easy. There's meat there, but that's not all that's there. This is really a bean soup. So, thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Really appreciate all y'all coming out to watch. So, it's been a pleasure. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye.